Mankind loves a good monster. Zombies, vampires, werewolves, Frankenstein's monster. But why are we so obsessed with them? Why are we so obsessed with monsters? Well, perhaps stories of monsters aren't just scary stories. Perhaps some of these monsters embody our deepest anxieties about what it means to be human. So tonight, in honor of Halloween, let's explore the idea of the uncanny and the monstrous through the eyes of philosophy. Let's first talk about the emotion we feel when we're confronted by these creepy horrors. How do you feel when you see something like this? Freud analysed this feeling, the uncanny. Freud said the uncanny is that unsettling feeling we get when something familiar becomes disturbingly strange. As humans, we like to categorise the world around us in order to understand it, enjoying a certain degree of predictability in people and in things. This is life and death, this is human and non-human, this is the familiar and the alien. But we take these categories for granted. So when something breaks the mold and challenges these categories that we form, Freud says we experience the feeling of something being uncanny. Philosophically, this connects with the breakdown of identity and meaning. In our absurd world, we try to find a sense of self and meaning wherever we can. And so monsters, in their various forms, primarily represent our fears of the absurd and the meaningless, perhaps instilling a sense of existential dread in us. But now let's break down some famous monsters and see which of our deepest fears they portray. What's interesting about zombies is that they're physically identical to humans, except with a little bit of wear and tear. But the big difference is that zombies lack consciousness. They move in herds, thoughtlessly committing acts of evil. The clear parallel here is to a fear of groupthink. We reject the idea of being a uniform, mindless entity. As we say, a sheep to slaughter, a cog in the machine. If we stop thinking critically, what might happen? What acts might we be capable of committing with our own two hands? Hannah Arendt spoke about the dangers of thoughtlessness in her report, Eichmann in Jerusalem. Arendt attended the trial of high-ranking Nazi bureaucrat Adolf Eichmann. She expected to see a monster, but instead she saw a seemingly ordinary man. He was plain, simple, boring, and claimed to be just following orders. She said this ordinariness made him even more frightening, as it shows how ordinary humans, when they stop thinking critically, can commit heinous wrongdoing. So zombies capture our fear of what might become of us if we lose what makes us distinctly human. That is, self-awareness, reason, and agency. What makes human life worth living? You might say finding love, self-improvement, traveling the world, enjoying pleasurable experiences. And in a moment of peak happiness, you might say, I wish I could live forever. And that's what vampires are. They're immortal humans. But when you think about it, really think about it, humans living forever, you might feel a little bit of dread. Would things start to lose their value? If the people you love will always be there, can you love them passionately? Once you visit every country and taste every dish, do you get bored? Is a part of what it means to be human the knowledge that it won't last forever? Perhaps we can experience such joys in life because we know they're fleeting.
He's having an existential crisis.
Philosopher Bernard Williams thought so. He argues that immortality would actually be unbearable. It wouldn't lead to fulfillment, but to emptiness. So to live forever is to lose something which is essentially human. And so we could argue that vampires symbolize the fear of a meaningless existence. Now, unlike zombies and vampires, the werewolf isn't always a monster. As we know, by day, they're an ordinary human being. It is only when the full moon rises that they turn into this animalistic, uncontrollable, violent version of themselves. The werewolf captures a very old philosophical idea, the tension between our appetites and our reason. Plato, in his work The Republic, describes the human soul as having three parts. There's the rational part of our soul, which is the part of us that seeks seeks learning and wisdom. Then there's the spirited part, which loves honor, reputation, and glory. Then there's the appetitive part, which simply craves food, drink, sex, and other animalistic pleasures. Plato said that the virtuous human would prioritize the rational part of their soul, keeping their vanity and their impulses in check. If we listen solely to our appetites, we're no better than other animals. The werewolf and its behavior represents the dangers of letting our appetitive soul dominate us. It is perhaps indicative of our fear of what humans might look like if they abandon that rational side to themselves and listen only to their animalistic instincts. Or perhaps werewolves embody the fear that our civilized, rational collective can, at any point, crumble under the weight of our desires and our instincts. Humans are, after all, still animals. Rah. For those unfamiliar with Mary Shelley's book, Frankenstein, scientist Victor Frankenstein builds a human using bits from other corpses. An arm from one corpse and the leg from another. And he manages to bring this new human being that he built to life. This creation becomes known as Frankenstein's monster. Victor becomes freaked out by his own creation and abandons the monster, leaving the monster to navigate the world by himself. Without proper guidance, the monster turns from an innocent, childlike creature to a hurting and violent adult. The story of Frankenstein is often interpreted as what might happen if a scientist goes too far with their creation. But philosophically, I think the story of Frankenstein is a question of responsibility in creation. What duties do creators, like scientists or even parents, owe to their creation? For example, let's take AI researchers and companies. They have undoubtedly brought a powerful creation into our world. But as philosopher Hans Jonas argues, with creation comes responsibility.
With great power comes great responsibility.
AI creators have a duty to monitor AI and make sure it doesn't go off the rails. Without proper oversight, AI could cause catastrophic damages, like Frankenstein's monster. And similarly, parents have a duty to care for their children. Frankenstein's monster symbolizes the fear of what could happen when a creator takes no responsibility for their creation. As humans, it seems we find a certain comfort in duty and feel fear if people no longer abide by them. Kant would have loved what I just said. All this is to say, Halloween is good for us. We need to keep telling stories about monsters, as monsters help us externalize our deepest anxiety, like the fear of death, the absurd, technology, identity, unconsciousness, and unruliness. And monsters remind us to protect and appreciate the things which make us human. I hope you enjoyed this Halloween special philosophy video, and I'll see you next week.